Hi, welcome to Makers Making Change, the New York Metro chapter. My name's Christopher Murata. I'm one of the co-chapter leaders. I am an occupational therapist working full-time at the Henry Viscardi School in Alberton, New York, and also a tinkerer. And one thing I love about what I do as an OT is adaptations for the students I work with, and I got involved with the New York chapter a few years ago, along with Loretto, who will introduce herself.
Hi, so my name is Loretto. I'm also an OT. I work for the New York City Department of Education, and I also helped co-fund a nonprofit called Zero Day Camp, where we teach computer science and media literacy for kids. And like Chris, I love to tinker and bug all these wonderful electrical engineers that I've met through my journey at MMC, like Farouk.
Hi everyone, I'm Farouk. I'm a professor at New York City College of Technology, which is one of the colleges as part of the City University of New York. We are located in Brooklyn, and I teach in the computer engineering department. And I'm one of the co-chapter leaders along with Loretto and Chris for the New York City chapter of Makers Making Change.
So what we do, how our chapter started, Farouk, can you explain how this all began in the New York area?
Yes. So back in the end of 2019, um, I was looking for some way for the students who make projects in the classes that I teach. I wanted to see if they can make projects as part of what we call service learning, that their projects can actually be made for people who can use them. So I found out about the Makers Making Change organization, and I also learned that there was no chapter in the New York City area. So I applied to start a chapter in the New York City area at the end of 2019. And that's, I believe, was the same time Loretto I hadn't met at that time was looking for the same Makers Making Change chapter in the New York City area. So we met through Makers Making Change, and then we decided to start the chapter at New York City. And so since then, and then COVID hit in 2020, which put slowed down our efforts to start the chapter activities. But here we are now, after several years, when we have been working together for several years now to get things going in the New York City chapter of Makers Making Change.
And just to add how I was involved is before the chapter was started in New York, I learned about Makers Making Change and uploaded one of the devices I created onto their repository. And then during the pandemic, found out that this chapter was created and they were hosting virtual webinars at the time.
Yep, we were shipping kits to people's homes and trying to do them on build events online.
But now we do stuff in person and still do virtual stuff also.
Yeah, one of them are some hackathons. So we like to get groups of people together. Chris has recently done a toy hackathon in Stony Brook University in Long Island. And we have some volunteers out on Long Island. Shout out to Christina, who comes out and also helps out. We recently partnered with Adaptive Design in New York City, and we built these like little cardboard arcades and to make some adapted gaming and plug switches in there. And then we also do holiday hackathons where we adapt toys and build switches. And then sometimes we recently had a local request to make a whole bunch of switches to support a local school. And so we just got a group of volunteers together and spent the day out in Makerspace in Sunset Park to build switches for the school.
Another thing we do is try to have presentations and just spread the word about Maker and Makers Making Change. Both Loretto and I recently did a 4-part virtual webinar series called Beyond Cause and Effect with adapted switches. We also have had tables at the Abilities Expo in New Jersey and the Maker Fairs on Long Island and Brooklyn, New York. And we've had run tables at Closing the Gap and the ATA conference. And last year, we also had a workshop and table at a Construct 3D conference and put something together, a couple of presentations, and had a table at the New York City Department of Education AT Fair.
Okay, and we have workshops, as we mentioned already, where volunteers come together. We have had workshops at various locations, including partnership with NYU Makerspace and NYU Ability Project, where volunteers and students come together and build various assistive technology devices. Some of the devices and other projects that have been built at these workshops are switch and joysticks, switch interface, including coding in the Arduino IDE to write the code for the microcontrollers in some of these devices. We have included introduction to 3D printing for assistive technology at these workshops, and help people learn coding to create adapted arcade games, and also done some workshops adapting toys to modify the toys, the inside circuitry of the toys to make them accessible, and then distributed those toys to the kids in need around the New York City area.
And so we've been building a online lending library of some of the excess equipment that we build. Sometimes people, attendees just come in order to learn the skill, and they don't necessarily want to keep the joystick or the switch that they built. And so that inventory we put on our lending library, and then people are able to just go ahead and order it. And then it covers the cost of materials and shipping. And then we just send them out to people locally. So that's something that we've been able to do with our inventory.
Some future events that we are going to be involved in next week, actually, or actually you're watching this, it's pretty soon. There's a Maker Day at the ATA conference in Florida. So we will have a New York chapter table there and do a little activity. We are planning what we're calling a kitchen sink builds at NYU Ability Project, NYU University, where with all the kits that we have left over from other workshops, we're going to kind of bring them all together and be able to finish off some of the projects we have. There's also plans for a hackathon at Adelphi University. Loretto and I are going to be traveling to Texas to host a full-day workshop about switch adapting and using switch interface boxes and creating your own 3D printed adapted switch. I will be presenting at the Council for Exceptional Children in March. And while I am there, I was invited to do a workshop, or what they call a tech playground. And during that period of time, I have an hour and we'll be doing a workshop to learn how to switch adapt and and build a switch. And most likely, being that we've been at the Abilities Expo in New Jersey for the past couple of years, we'll plan to have a table there again also.
So
Some ongoing projects, and Loretto, you could join in on this one. We are always thinking of ideas when we have our meetings on a monthly basis, and things come up from people we meet. I always look at trying to find ways to adapt stuff to be switch adapted. So in these pictures, you could see an adapted catapult, a vibrating toy. A lot of our members have some skills in 3D design, so we get some help when needed. And some of them are helpful with coding and microcontrollers. So you could see in the catapults, for instance, there's a Microsoft Microbit, and that is something our chapter is going to plan future workshops on, is using the microbit to create adaptations. One particular thing we were looking into is on the bottom left, you see a microcontroller, this access bit, that is something that connects to the Microsoft microbit, which allows multiple switch inputs. So we're in the process of looking more into that. And then 3D design wise, Loretto had put together a syllable counter for spelling. And a lot of times we'll tinker on our own and show it to the group, just because ideas come to us on the fly, and we have to go and get it and put it together. And another thing we are ongoing project is trying to figure out more or look into adapted gaming. We have had workshops in the past where we had created joysticks, but we also are looking more into Switch adapted games. So learning more about how to use block-based coding and creating simple arcade games.
And I just want to add a little shout out to the syllable counter that was designed by Gnome, who runs the chapter down in New Orleans and Make Good. So we're collaborative chapters.
Yeah, that is that. When we do have the opportunity, we join up with other chapters in the US and work on projects together. Speaking about building connections and collaborations.
So we tend to try and make connections with community organizations around us that support users with disabilities. So trying to find the AT Tech Act or connecting with hospitals and nursing homes. We've also been pretty successful with finding local universities and engineering programs, like Farouk's school, and all like universities are really excited to collaborate on this project, and some of the
There's a collaboration with NYU as well as Stony Brook in Long Island, Stony Brook University.
Yeah, and then we're also trying to find ways to involve the K-12, a lot of the robotics teams, and so trying to get some more of this like tech for good, and getting younger people really thinking about how they can support people with disabilities around them.
And we have definitely made a lot of connections over the past couple of years. And here's just an example of all the places that we've come together with to either host workshops or make things for the particular organization. So we're pretty proud of all these partnerships, and we hope this increases over the next couple of years, and we have more and more opportunities to work with these partners. So if you are interested in getting involved in the New York chapter, we do have meetings on a monthly basis on the second Monday of each month from 7 to 8 Eastern Standard Time. And during our meetings, it's not just people in New York. We've had plenty of visits from overseas and Canada and even on the West Coast. So this meeting is for anyone to join. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're in the New York chapter, but even if you want to join our chapter and you could join stuff virtually, that would be great. And if you are interested in joining the chapter, we have a Slack workspace, which the link is there. We also have a meetup link where we post our events and have it open to more of the community in New York. There is a newsletter that Loretto has put together, which you could sign up and receive on a monthly basis, that talks about all the things we did over that month. And there is a MMC Discord, which is from the proper MMC, but that's another area where we have some conversations. And recently we made our website live, New York Metro MMC, and I think it's .org. I might have put the wrong thing there. It's probably .org. And there's our email if you're interested in speaking to us directly, and our Instagram page, which is posted to on occasion. We're always looking for more volunteers and members, and it's always hard to have someone take over that role. And there you go. Thank you everyone for attending and listening to our presentation about the New York Metro chapter of Makers Making Change.
Thank you.
Hopefully we see you soon.